Back in 1950, a brand new Buick rolled off the lot for $1,800. Chrome bumpers thick as your arm, white wall tires that gleamed like pearls, and an engine that purred like a satisfied cat. You didn't lease it, you bought it, drove it for 20 years, and passed it down to your son with pride. The corner drugstore wasn't just about prescriptions. It had a lunch counter where you could get a grilled ham sandwich for 35 cents and a chocolate malt that came in a real glass. The pharmacist knew your whole family's medical history and never needed to check a computer screen. In 1953, TV Guide hit the stands for the first time. 15 cents bought you a week's worth of programming schedules. Families planned their evenings around Ed Sullivan and I Love Lucy. No channel surfing. You knew exactly what was on and when. Dime stores were magic kingdoms for kids. Woolworths had everything under one roof: goldfish, school supplies, candy by the ounce, and toy cowboys that cost a quarter. The wooden floors creaked under your feet, and the smell of popcorn drifted from the snack bar. Every neighborhood had a Fuller brushman who knocked on doors with a sample case full of miracles: scrub brushes, carpet sweepers, and cleaning solutions that promised to make housework effortless. Most housewives bought something, not because they needed it, but because he was so darn polite. The family car had bench seats wide enough for 3 adults and a sleeping child. No seat belts, no airbags, just acres of vinyl and a radio that picked up stations from 3 states away on a clear night. Windows rolled down by hand, and the breeze was your air conditioning. In 1954, the first successful kidney transplant was performed. It sounded like something from Buck Rogers, but it worked. Twin brothers, 1 kidney, and medical history was made. The future suddenly seemed full of impossible possibilities. Penny arcades lined the boardwalks at every beach town, pinball machines, fortune tellers, and strength tests where you swung a hammer to ring a bell. A handful of change could keep you entertained for hours, and the prizes were worth winning. Every home had a party line telephone. You shared the line with neighbors, and sometimes Mrs. Henderson would pick up while you were talking to your girlfriend. Privacy was a luxury nobody expected, and somehow the world kept spinning. The good humor man drove through neighborhoods in a white truck with bells that could be heard 6 blocks away. Kids dropped everything, grabbed their nickels, and ran barefoot down the street for popsicles and ice cream sandwiches that never disappointed. In 1955, the first McDonald's franchise opened, but it looked nothing like today's Golden Arches. The building was octagonal, the menu was simple, and the French fries were cut fresh every morning. Fast food was still food, just served faster. Soda jerks were artists behind marble counters. They'd mix your cherry Coke with a flourish, slide it across the counter with a smile, and never got your order wrong. The foam was perfect, the cherry was real, and the glass was thick enough to survive a nuclear blast. Every gas station had a mechanic who could fix anything with wheels. No computers, no diagnostic machines, just a man with greasy hands and 40 years of experience. If your car made a funny noise, he'd listen for 10 seconds and tell you exactly what was wrong. The Saturday matinee was a sacred ritual. For 50 cents you got a cartoon, a cereal, and a double feature. Kids filled the first 10 rows. Parents dropped them off at noon and picked them up at 5. The popcorn was fresh, the seats were sticky, and nobody complained. In 1952, the hydrogen bomb was tested for the first time. The mushroom cloud rose 15 miles high, and America realized it had created something that could end the world. The future felt both limitless and terrifying, often on the same day. Bread was delivered to your door by a man in a white uniform who knew your family's weekly order by heart. The loaves came in wax paper, stayed fresh for days, and made toast that actually tasted like something. No preservatives, no chemicals, just flour and time. Every downtown had a 5 and dime store with wooden floors that creaked stories. You could buy a pocket knife, a birthday card, and a goldfish in the same trip. The owner knew your name, your parents' names, and probably your grandmother's maiden name. The family doctor made house calls with a black leather bag and a bedside manner that could cure half your problems just by showing up. No insurance forms, no copays, just a man who'd deliver babies at midnight and set broken bones at dawn. In 1957, the first Frisbee was produced. It was called the Pluto Platter, and it changed summer afternoons forever. Kids discovered you could throw a piece of plastic across the yard, and somehow it would fly. Physics had never been so fun. Drive-in restaurants had car hops on roller skates who'd bring your order to your window. You'd flash your headlights when you were ready, and a girl in a uniform would skate over with a tray that hooked onto your car door. The food was hot, the service was fast, and the atmosphere was pure Americana. Every barbershop had a spinning pole, hot towels, and a barber who'd been cutting hair since Coolidge was president. 2 bits bought you a shave and a haircut, plus 30 minutes of local gossip and political debate. The chairs were leather, the mirrors were spotless, and the conversation was free. In 1950, there were only 98 television stations in the entire country. If you were lucky enough to have a TV, you gathered around it like it was a campfire. The test pattern came on at midnight, and that meant bedtime. No exceptions. The corner grocery store extended credit with nothing but a handshake and your word. They'd write your purchases in a ledger, and you'd settle up on payday. Nobody needed credit cards or background checks. Your reputation was your credit rating. Every soda fountain had a jukebox that played the hits for a nickel. Chuck Berry, Buddy Holly, and Elvis crooned while you sipped your cherry Coke and tried to impress the girl in the next booth. The 45S dropped with mechanical precision, and the sound was pure magic. In 1956, the first transatlantic telephone cable was laid. Suddenly, you could call London without waiting for a radio operator. The world was shrinking, one conversation at a time, and long distance felt a little less distant. The local movie theater had only one screen, but it showed double features every night. The seats were velvet, the curtains were heavy, and the projector made that familiar clicking sound that meant the show was about to start. No multiplexes, no stadium seating, just pure cinema. Every home had a milkman who knew exactly how many bottles to leave on your doorstep. The milk was cold, the cream was thick, and the bottles were glass. You'd hear the clink at dawn and know the day was beginning right. The local 5 and Dime had a pet section where you could buy baby chicks, goldfish, and turtles with tiny painted shells. No questions asked, no care instructions, just a shoebox with holes and the hope that your new pet would survive the trip home. In 1953, the first color television broadcast aired, but only a few hundred people could see it. The rest of us watched Lucy and Ricky in black and white and used our imagination to fill in the colors. Somehow, it was enough. Every gas station had full service, and the attendant would check your oil, clean your windshield, and ask about your family while the tank filled. No credit cards, no pay at the pump, just a man who took pride in his work and knew your car by sound. The local diner had a counter where regulars had their own stools and their own coffee cups. The waitresses knew your order before you said it, and the pie was always fresh. No franchises, no corporate menus, just good food and better conversation. In 1954, the first successful organ transplant was performed. A kidney, 2 brothers, and medical history. The future was arriving one miracle at a time, and anything seemed possible if you just believed hard enough. Every neighborhood had a good humor truck that played the same tinkling melody. Kids would drop their bikes and run toward the sound with sweaty quarters clutched in their fists. The driver knew every kid's name and their favorite flavor. The local hardware store had bins of nails, screws, and bolts that you bought by the pound. The owner could fix anything, build anything, and knew where everything was in the maze of shelves. No barcodes, no computers, just knowledge passed down through generations. In 1958, the first integrated circuit was invented. It was smaller than a paperclip and would eventually change everything. But that day, it was just another gadget in a lab, waiting for the world to catch up. Every soda fountain had a marble counter, wire chairs, and a soda jerk who could make a perfect ice cream sundae while telling you the latest gossip. The cherry was always on top, the nuts were always fresh, and the conversation was always free. The local barber shop had a shoe shine stand, where you could get your shoes polished while you waited for your haircut. The man with the rag knew how to make leather shine like glass, and he'd snap the cloth with a rhythm that was pure jazz. In 1955, the first McDonald's opened with a simple menu and faster service. Hamburgers, fries, and shakes. That was it. No Happy Meals, no playgrounds, just good food served quickly by people who took pride in their work. Every home had a telephone table with a built-in seat and a shelf for the phone book. Conversations were planned, long distance was expensive, and nobody ever called just to chat. When the phone rang, it meant something. The local movie theater had a balcony where teenagers could hold hands in the dark. The seats were worn, the carpet was sticky, and the memories were priceless. No multiplexes, no stadium seating, just romance and Roy Rogers. In 1959, the first Xerox machine was introduced. Suddenly you could copy documents without carbon paper or mimeograph machines. The future was becoming more convenient, one innovation at a time. The local diner had a pie case that was always full and a coffee pot that was never empty. The waitresses had been there since Roosevelt, and they knew how you liked your eggs before you did. No menus needed, no questions asked. In 1952, the first diet soft drink was created. It was called No Cal, and it tasted like medicine, but it promised a future where you could have your cake and eat it too. The dream was sweeter than the reality. Every neighborhood had a corner store where kids could buy penny candy and baseball cards. The owner knew every kid's name, their parents' names, and exactly how much allowance they had to spend. Trust was the only currency that mattered. The local barber shop had magazines that were 6 months old and conversations that were timeless. Politics, sports, and the weather were discussed with equal passion while the scissors snipped and the razor scraped. Democracy in action, one haircut at a time. In 1957, the space race began with a beach ball-sized satellite that beeped from orbit. America looked up at the stars and realized the future was already here. The sky was no longer the limit. It was just the beginning. Every home had a front porch where neighbors stopped to chat and kids played until dark. No air conditioning meant windows stayed open, doors stayed unlocked, and the community was stronger than any security system. The local soda fountain had a jukebox, a marble counter, and memories that lasted a lifetime. A nickel bought you a song, a dime bought you a Coke, and a quarter bought you a piece of the American dream. It was simple, it was sweet, and it was ours. And somehow, with all these simple pleasures, life felt richer than anything money could buy today.